Welcome. Here is another video about SMMware, software for running your day-to-day business operations. This video will discuss the concept of pay levels, which supports paying your associates at different rates depending on the kind of work being done. Okay, let's begin. We'll start by talking about why you might want to use pay levels. You might want to pay more for people who are working on the weekend. You might pay a different rate for travel time. And you might pay more for more skilled work, such as floor planning, or more difficult work, one example of which would be hoarder cleanup. Now we'll look at associate profiles and how we can assign pay levels. This associate has one pay level assigned so far, called team member. We have three others that we could also add: team member on weekend, team lead, and team lead on weekend. These are defined in the system. You may have more than three others. You may have fewer. So there we are, we've assigned pay levels to this associate. Now let's take a look in the system where these pay levels are defined. We'll go to the settings editor, down to section 7 for pay levels. And you can see that the labels are assigned here. And again, they can be whatever you want. You may or may not have references to team member, team lead. You may have travel time, for instance. Pay levels are used by jobs. There are two basic approaches. When you start a new job and you're thinking about how you're going to pay your associates, you have the choice of either paying them according to job codes or according to their associate profiles more directly, using some rules that we'll discuss shortly. We're going to start by talking about what it's like to use job codes. Go back to the settings editor and look at our job codes. And you'll see that there are drop-downs for pay levels, one for the regular, which is the weekday, and one for the weekend. You are not required to set a pay level for the weekend. If you do not, then SMMware will simply default to using the regular pay level. You'll set your pay levels for each of the job codes. Some might be a team member, some might be a team lead. Some might have something set for the weekend pay level, and some may not. Let's take a look at a regular level associate. And what it's like to enter hours. If you've seen hourly entries in SMMware before, this will actually be just the same. Picking the date, start time and end time, and entering description. So from the point of view of a regular employee, basic entry-level employee, they would not see anything different than what they have seen in the past. We'll go ahead and log back in as the system administrator who has HR privileges. Let's take a look at what it's like to edit an entry. You can see that it's the same as before in terms of entering the date, the job, and the job code. However, there is an additional field here that you can unhide under the $. Since I have HR privilege role, I can actually override the hourly rate here. And this can be useful when you've given somebody a raise and perhaps they have made an entry that wound up at the new rate even though it was for a week ago and you need to adjust it. The ability to modify the rate on a case-by-case basis will let you handle any exceptions to your typical set of rules. When you are using job codes and you want to figure out the hourly rate, there are a couple links in the chain. Start with the job code, which is mapped to a pay level, and then for a given associate, that pay level will have an hourly rate. Now let's look at what it's like to work with pay levels when the job does not use job codes for pay. Going back to a entry-level employee, going to record my hours, picking the date and a job. You still have the same start time and end time. The underlying thinking in SMMware is that entry-level employees do not get to pick their pay levels. Let's take a look at this from the point of view of a team lead. Entering hours. Go ahead and pick a job and the date. And in this case, a team lead is a higher level person within your organization, and they can pick the pay levels for their team members if they're managing an entry for them. So that way you can directly assign that pay level. Lastly, we'll come back in as the system administrator. And our experience is going to be just like that for the team lead. If we do go to edit a new entry, once again, we'll see that we have the ability, since we have HR role privileges, to directly override the hourly rate for that entry. When you think about what the final pay rate will be when you're using jobs that are paying according to the associate profiles, the links in the chain here, it starts with the question of whether the person is acting as a team lead or not for this job, whether they worked on the weekend or not, and that determines what the appropriate pay level is. And then if that associate has that pay level assigned to them, that will provide the hourly rate. Again, it's worth noting in SMMware that if you have not assigned a given pay level to an associate, that SMMware will fall back on their default rate, which you can make use of by having somebody assigned to, say, a job code where it calls for a higher pay level for some circumstances, but for other team members, it may be falling back on their regular default level if you don't pay them more in that case. In the past, when you've created jobs, you would probably not have paid attention to the associate pay model. But now that we have the multiple pay levels, you may very well find that you need to use the per job code. So that is something that you'll want to give some thought to. One of the advantages of using the pay levels is that middle level people like team leads can get involved in the process of determining hourly entries but not know the hourly rates for the associates. They can just verify that the work was done on a weekend or it was a certain type of work and that a certain pay level is appropriate, but again, they don't get to know what the actual final hourly rate is. When we look at the payroll report, if you are not using the hours and expense mileage approval, there is now going to be an edit button. If you are, then that edit button is going to be under the hours and expense approval screen, as seen here. So for instance, if we had a few entries here that we wanted to edit, we can simply click on the edit button, make our changes, and when we're done, coming back to the tab with the report, we can just refilter it to catch those new changes. Going back to our payroll report, now that we have the pay levels in place, it is convenient to provide a pay level summary, and if more than one pay level had been used across the pay period, you will see the total number of hours and the rates, and SMMware will also note if any of the hours were at a different pay rate, in the case where you have overridden the pay rate. going to take a look at the payroll report for a different system, one that does not use the hourly and expense mileage approval. And you can see here that we have the edit buttons. We think that you will find that Pay Levels is a powerful tool, allowing you to more cleanly handle your employee pay and providing different rates for different kinds of work and doing it in a more automated way, putting you in a position to review what employees have put in and spend less time working entry by entry to tweak things for your payroll purposes. We hope that you found this video informative. To find out more about SMMware, you can visit our website at www.smmmware.com. You can call us at 240-285-4619 with questions or to arrange a demo. SMMware is an industry partner with NASM, the National Association of Senior Move Managers, and with NAPO, the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. We appreciate your time and hope to talk to you soon. Thank you.